I was working as a waiter at the Hotel Oberoi, Mumbai, which is a 5-star hotel in Mumbai. And in the hotel industry, there's a lot of stress, you know, and specifically the job atmosphere over there was like extremely stressful. And because of the stress, my body couldn't take that and it completely broke down. And because of that, I had to leave my job, and I had to start my treatment. Okay, so I came back to Pune for my treatment, but the conventional medicine was not working. So I was in the search of alternatives. And in the search of alternatives, one of my friends, he suggested me a spiritual organization called SSY, or Siddha Samadhi Yoga. And in that process, it was a 14-day spiritual retreat where we had to leave meat. I was a hardcore non-vegetarian once upon a time. The last 6 years I'm completely veg, going towards vegan. So 14 days we had to leave meat, I had to leave milk, tea and coffee. Okay. And 14 days they taught us different forms of yoga and meditation and different other things. And what I realized or experienced was most of the issues or diseases which I had just vanished in those 14 days. And that led me on a journey on questioning a lot of things, on questioning a lot of conditionings which we had. Things like non-veg is important for you, doodh pina zaruri hai, iske liye, uske liye, you know. So a lot of these conditionings which we are brought up with, so I started questioning those things. Was working in a call center, and which I was not really comfortable with. But I was working for a few months, and after just one day, when I was traveling in the cab, these call centers have these travel cabs, you know, where they drop you from your home to the place where you have to work. तो तारे ज़मीन पर का जो लास्ट का जो एक गाना होता है, I'm forgetting the exact lyrics, but it's like which is the last song of Tare Zameen Par, which is yes, exactly. So this song was kind of yes. So this song was kind of playing on the radio, and it's the same lyrics. Dil khush jaha teri to manzil hai wahi. So uska opposite जो था, that was a reality for me, which is basically दिल तो खुश नहीं है, मतलब ये मेरी मंजिल नहीं है. That is for sure. That was a message. फिर मेरा दिल खुश कहाँ पे है? That is something which I need to find out. That is also another thing what came for me. And one day I was passing by a place, and वहाँ पे लिखा था spiritual workshops, yoga, meditation, ये वो सब. And that was the Urban Ashram. And that is a place which is just 2 minutes from my house. He said that come join from tomorrow. So I left the call center job and I joined from tomorrow. And at the Urban Ashram, basically I was an event coordinator. So my primary role was that all the people who, all the trainers and people who come for the workshops, I have to coordinate their events, I have to market for their events, call people and all. And for every event, I had to meet that person who used to conduct the event. So I started listening to every person's story, okay, why are they doing what they're doing. So that has kind of facilitated me. So that's how my journey from stories began, on listening to everyone's stories. And thanks to Sheetal, he allowed me to be a part of all those workshops. So, and every workshop was kind of a healing experience for me. And in many ways, that was also a space where a lot of my healing experiences started as well. And so that also led me to travel different places. Because from there I came to know about a lot of some brilliant people who are doing some amazing work. So that led me to travel different places, different parts of India to experience different kind of workshops. And I also experienced so many things and that was a completely new world for me. The space, the Urban Ashram was a completely new world for me. So, so in that space, I met right from people who are into dance therapy, into theater therapy, different art-based therapies, and in fact there was a workshop called Therapy Theater where there were some 15-20 different kind of therapies were in kind of one workshop. So I met these very interesting people and came across so many different kind of therapies which I've never came across. And Sheetal, he saw this one of my passion on cinema, because he used to run this movie club, and he was keeping on finding that who's going to be that person who will take this movie club ahead. And then he saw this passion, that I'm seeing this passion of movies in you, maybe you can take the initiative on movies. So I used to conduct the movie clubs and the movie events and facilitating the events and all, and that's how my journey on cinema therapy started. And that's how it didn't happen with any intention. I was just having a conversation with him, and we were discussing on something, and he just came, why don't you do some therapy on cinema? And that's how, why don't you do something on cinema therapy? So that word, cinema therapy, that's how it just came in a conversation, which was never planned. And but also before that, how my link with movies, I would just like to explain, and how my connection with movies began. So in that phase of leaving my job, one of the things what happened to me is I went into depression. Okay. And along with the other physical diseases which I had, which was like cervical spondylosis, asthma, allergies, and it was like long list of things. One of the things was depression. And the entire thing was, what next? That was my question. What next? Okay, now I've lost this job. Now what do I do? So the entire question was, what next? And what happened was, there's this DVD library called Big Flicks, which is actually a Reliance DVD library, and which opened after around a week I came back from Bombay, and just entered that store, and I don't know how it happened, but with the divine guidance or with something, I was constantly picking up inspirational movies. And I was never a movie buff, I was never into movies, I was never aware about movies. So just intuitively I started picking up movies, and intuitively what came into my hand were all these sports movies to begin with. So basically things like Rocky or Miracle, and there are a lot of sport movies which came initially, and then one by one all the inspirational movies. So that just happened like intuitively, it just came one by one. So that was a very interesting thing. And every day I used to watch a movie, and every day or every movie changed my perception or the way of seeing life, which was also happening parallelly. So every movie I was watching, with every movie my perception of seeing life, the way of seeing life, that started evolving, that started changing. Okay, and this was all happening on a subconscious level. How it's happening, I was never questioned into it. Later on, I came to know the science behind it, which I'll share afterwards, on what was happening at that time, and which is also the essence of cinema therapy. So that's how cinema therapy came to me rather than me going to it. And what actually happened was, after a month or two, these movies actually lifted me out of depression. Okay, so if you go to a psychologist and if he say that, okay, I kind of feel low, I feel depressed, what do I do? He'll tell that take this pill and you start with this, your depression will go. Okay, that's what happens normally. And fortunately, I didn't go to a psychologist. What happened was, the movie was playing the role of a psychologist over here. And now when people come to me actually with psychological problems, I prescribe movies instead of medicine. Sometimes people call me a movie doctor. And so that is how actually movies actually started becoming a part of my life. And I also started realizing the value of a movie. And I feel that movie is one of the best tools of learning about life. It's the most cheapest way of learning life. It's like, to make one movie, it takes really millions of dollars. It is a Hollywood movie. You know, if I'm giving an example of a Hollywood movie like Avatar or this amazing Hollywood movie which come, it takes millions of dollars to make this one movie. But when you actually go to buy an original DVD, it comes around 600 to 700 rupees. That's it. So in 600 to 700 rupees, you can actually get access to that movie. And with just one movie, you can learn so many things. Matlab, it was so powerful for me that it actually lifted me out of depression. So that was the power of it. And so that is the first phase on how I got connected with movies. And that went to the next level when I was working at the Urban Ashram. So the starting point was over there, but it took off at the Urban Ashram, slowly. And also it was like Sheetal, randomly he says that, okay, you pick up a movie and we'll start. Because there was every time there's people who come from out of India or people who come to do a workshop. So they stay over there, and so he used to keep on planning these movie nights. And he used to ask me, okay, you pick up the movie and then we'll do a movie night. So I pick up the movie, and every movie that I pick up, fortunately, it becomes more than an experience. And every movie club or every session of a movie club, it was a healing experience for people. Like, people used to break down, people used to laugh, people used to cry, people used to share things that they have never shared before. So it was so many things were happening just in that movie club or within that movie club. And I slowly started realizing that there is something happening over here. It's not just a normal movie watching. Like, normally we go to a theater or we go to a cinema. Okay, these mainstream multiplexes and all. However good a movie is or however emotional a movie is, it's very rarely that we express what we actually feel after watching or during when you're watching a movie. Like, if a person is feeling to cry, so many times a person wants to cry, but that conditioning, what will people think? He stops himself to feel that emotion. If a person wants to laugh, he doesn't laugh. So these different things are there just because they do follow the so-called social etiquette. So what was happening in the movie club, what I was realizing is the power of a community-based movie club. And it was the community, or the power of this circle, or the power of this group, which was adding on to that healing experience. That was what was happening. And I was realizing that there's this power of this community, or this movie club, which is actually a community, which is actually adding to that healing experience. It's two things: one is the community, another space. And that is the reason why conscious spaces are so much needed. Like, this is a space. You're over here, this is a space. And this space and say a corporate space is completely different. And a corporate space is completely in fear, control, you have to achieve these targets and this and that, whereas this space is so much full of love. So there's so much of difference in the space. And that's why, so when you having these movie clubs at the Urban Ashram, it was the space and it was that community which was making a difference. And it was this space which was making the people it was giving them a protection, or in a way that if I share whatever I have to share, I know that it will not go out of this space. So there was this kind of integrity which was there in that space as well. Because so many times people have actually broken down and shared things about the relationship, what was happening at their home, and so many things connected to the past as well. The movie that we were intending to show was Tuesdays with Maury, which is connected to senior citizens. But that movie was not working, so I had only two movies with me, this and Dolphin's Tale. So I screened this movie, and I never intended what was going to come after the screening. And what came about after the screening of the movie was something just amazing. This is based on a true story. And this was a movie about a true story of this little boy, around 8-year-old boy, and this dolphin. And this 8-year-old boy, was never interested in school or studies. And one day he was just cycling on the beach and he found this dolphin. And the dolphin was kind of struggling. And because it had injured its tail, it was struggling, and there was a kind of a small piece of metal which was kind of attached to it. It was struggling because of that as well. So this boy went to the dolphin and he saw in the dolphin's eyes and he immediately connected with the dolphin. And it was the first thing in his entire life that he connected with. He never connected with his parents, he never connected with his school, with his friends, nothing. So it was the first thing that he connected with something in his life. Okay. And that made him come alive. And there was this entire rescue team which came. It took the dolphin to one. It was basically a center where they take care of animals. So it took them over there. This boy went over there. And what he used to do is he used to bunk school and he used to go to this museum. Okay. So, and also his mother was seeing that there's some change in my son. She was also seeing that. So one day his mother came to know that his son, instead of going to school, he's going to this museum because he came to know from his school that your son is not coming to school. Now his mother, instead of being angry that instead of going to school, why are you going here, she was very happy. She was happy that first time in his entire life, there was something which actually made him come alive. So she went to that museum and to see what he's doing. She saw the dolphin and she said, no problem. If you don't want to go to school, don't go. You continue with this. Yeah? And what this boy did is he bought this. Morgan Freeman was the doctor. So he bought Morgan Freeman, who was the prosthetic doctor. He said that you make a tail for him so that he can swim. So he tried so many times and he said, okay, I'll make a tail. So he made the tail on gift economy. He said, okay, I don't mind what you give me. I'm making this tail because I want to do it. So he made the tail for the dolphin. And what was happening over here is the concept of gift. Also what I want to share, which was very well put in this movie. What also happened was this entire museum, the trustees of the museum said that we need to shut down this museum because we don't have enough funds. So this boy thought of an idea that let us put a website, put all this entire museum thing, and the dolphin's name was Winter. So let us use Winter to call people, and that will generate funds, and so this museum can go. So they also show that what effort this boy did. So what this boy did was he managed to collect a community of 1,000 people. Okay, and all these 1,000 people kind of came to that museum. They had an entry fee, and then that kind of made sure that the museum was running. And also what happened in the process was that because this was kind of this thing went out to the common people, there were many children who were disabled kind of came over here because they connected with the dolphin who was also disabled. Actually, I would put as differently able. So many children who came on wheelchairs, who were differently able, or who had polio and all these came and they took inspiration from the dolphin. Okay, and this actually happened. So the gift, and in spite of all this, the dolphin is happy. So in spite of that, the dolphin being differently able is happy. In spite of my being differently able or my disability, I can still be happy. That was kind of the message. So focus on your gifts or what you have rather than what you don't have. You know, that was kind of also what happened. So this entire community of 1,000 people gathered to actually heal the dolphin in one way. And how in this process these community of 1,000 people got healed? Because there's no difference between the dolphin and us. We are just one. You know? So that was the kind of message. So when I screened this movie with this community of senior citizens and all were like around about 50, 60 years, they started sharing things one after the other. And the person who was running that NGO, this was in Pune, she said that we tried thousands of things to actually make them express, but nothing worked. It was just one movie which actually made them express so many things. Because what they expressed was so many suppressed things, right from their past, issues at their home and whatnot, you know. So they just started coming one after the other, one after the other. And most of the people just broke down. So also the realization that how one movie, one story rather, can actually help in the healing process. So when I screen these movies with different communities, like this was a community of senior citizens, so different communities screen different movies. But this was completely unplanned, and it was like a wow. And after this, they have 10 other centers. They screen this movie in all the 10 centers. And I was not a facilitator in the other 10 centers, but I got the feedback, and the feedback was that after every screening, the sharings and all what came about was just amazing. So that was one way how, so these are different experiences which actually just validate the fact that how one movie or how one story and how this great piece of art, cinema, can actually help in the healing experience as well. It is basically like, in spite of all the chaos around him, he was seeing that same chaos as music, or seeing that same noise as music. So there is noise around you, and seeing the same noise as music. And also, similarly, he was also seeing when in music there is a rhythm, or there is an order in music. Okay. Now, what also he was seeing is that in spite of all the chaos, he was seeing an order in that chaos. If you have to visualize that as music, you have to see some order in that, and then that's how it becomes music. So in spite of all the chaos in our own lives, can we see an order in that chaos? Okay. So that is like one of the messages which can be got. There are many other, and also the power of perception. Each person seeing the same video clip in so many different ways. That's also the power of perception that we have in our own lives. And that's also one of the issues so many times when we have in relationships or with people. The same thing I'm seeing with different eyes, the same thing you're seeing with different eyes, and that's how the clash is. We're not able to see, and the moment we see that where the other person is coming from, sometimes the thing gets settled. But we always see somebody else, or we also always see the world not as how it is, but how, according to how we are. And in fact, there's this movie called The Celestine Prophecy. I don't know how many people have seen that, and it basically has some 8 prophecies or 8 principles of living life. The first prophecy is seeing the world the way it is, rather than seeing how we want to see it as. Can you see the world the way it is? And in fact, in this movie, August Rush, it's one of the brilliant movies which I've watched. And every time when I do a screening of August Rush with different groups and different communities, it's always a different experience. This one movie has kind of, I always have, actually the feedback which comes from people is every time different. And that's so beautiful, because I must have screened it at least some 15 to 20 times, and every time I screen the movie, the different feedback which I get from people, what they have learned from their, what did they learn from their own life with this movie, every time it's so different. It always amazes me on how this happens. And the starting of the movie, it says that the music is all around you. Question is, are you listening? When we go through different experiences, like different art-based therapies or when different meditative experiences and all, it is when we realize that, oh, there's this hero which I was suppressing it and all this while. You know, that is when you realize that. But when you watch a superhero movie, you connect with the superhero within you, which is already there in you. That is what happens, and that is what enthralls you, or that is how you get attracted to this entire movie. Wow, the superhero movie, or it could be any movie. It could be a movie like Iqbal, for example, which shows his struggle and then how he wins at the end. So it could be any movie. But that is one reason why we connect so much to these movies, because there's a hero in each one of us. How can you be mindful of whatever you're doing in your life? And there's also mindfulness when you're watching a movie. So, for example, when I have a one-to-one session with my client for cinema therapy session, depending on what problem that he has or what issue he's going through, it could be a relationship issue, it could be a marriage problem, parenting problem, whatever. Depending on that, I prescribe him a movie. Okay, so prescribe him a movie so that you watch this movie. and I tell him how to watch the movie with mindfulness, with conscious awareness. Okay, so this is the way how you have to watch the movie, depending on what issue he's going through. Sometimes the counseling session is not needed. He gets, okay, this is the issue, I am responsible for this problem, this is what I have to do. Okay, great, you got the problem. No? So sometimes it happens that there's no counseling session needed. Most of the issues that happen, I'm talking about emotional issues, and that leads to a lot of diseases as well, because whatever is there in your mind, that manifests in your body. But when we are talking about the mind, most of the issues, the emotional issues, psychological issues and all, is connected to this, which is that he's caught up with the story. Okay, and here I would like to give you an example of this movie called Inception. How many have watched the movie Inception? Okay, great. In this movie Inception, what happens is Leonardo DiCaprio, who's the hero of the movie, he has this huge guilt. Okay, this entire movie is about forgiveness and the power of letting go, if you watched on that sense. Okay, and how I'll just explain in brief. So Leonardo DiCaprio has this huge guilt that he's incepted this thought in his wife's mind, and because of that guilt, he has to go with this. He has to deal with these dramas, which is a dream within a dream within a dream. But the moment he lets go of that guilt, he comes to reality. So that drama is nothing but a dream. Okay, the moment he lets go of his guilt, he comes into reality. Okay, though at the end of the movie, there is still a question whether this is a dream or a reality, but that's a different story altogether. So similarly, in our own life, because of this huge guilt or these different stories that we are attached to, say, I'm not able to forgive my mother, I'm not able to forgive my father, my boyfriend has ditched me, my girlfriend has ditched me. This is all a story. Okay, this is a story. Now this person gets caught up in this story, and he believes this story to be true. It's just a story. At the end, it's just a story. So what we do in cinema therapy is, we help a person. He has a story issue. He has a problem with this story. Say, I'm not able to forgive my wife, for example. Okay, this is a story. So when this person has a marriage problem, we tell him to watch this movie called Fireproof. Okay, this is a movie called Fireproof, which is connected to helping people with marriage issues. Okay, and by the way, this movie has managed to save more than thousands of divorces in this world. I have managed to save a couple of divorces as well with this movie, thanks to this movie. So so say this person has problem with his wife, and okay, this is the issue. I'm not able to forgive my wife. My wife is this problem. This is okay. Tell him to watch this movie called Fireproof. He watches the movie, and what we are doing in that process of watching the movie is, we are helping him to deal with that story of not able to forgive his wife with another story. बोलते लोहा लोहा को काटता है. So the only thing that can help him with the story is another story. The most beautiful form of a story is a movie. A movie is at the end, a story at the end. So we are using this story, which is cinema, to help him with his story. Okay, and as Byron Katie says, Byron Katie is one of my favorite. She's an author and a counselor, and does some amazing work. And she asked this question to every person, and that question is, who would you be without your story? आप अपनी कहानी के बिना क्या हो? Every person has this story. Okay, every person has this story. And sometimes there's this quote that there's nothing in this universe but stories. और कुछ नहीं है, सिर्फ कहानियाँ ही है. मैं बोलते ना ये सब माया है. हाँ, तो किसी ने बोला है कि ये सब कहानियाँ है. Okay, so there's nothing but stories. So the question she asked is, who would you be without your story? Okay, if you say that your story is that I'm not able to forgive my father, I'm not able to forgive my wife, I have a problem with this person, okay, these are different stories. Now if you just remove all these stories, then who would you be? Who would I be without my story? I would be free. I thought, it's like, so many times we get caught up in these different stories and we create a virtual prison around us. Okay, I have this problem, I have that problem, such a virtual prison. Okay, the moment you remove the stories, okay, you would be free. How do we do that? How do you make person be aware of that? So the first step to healing is awareness. Okay, So what happens is he's not aware that he's caught up in this. So he's not aware that he's not able to forgive his father or mother or anyone. Okay, that only comes with acceptance, and acceptance comes when you're aware of it. Okay, so there's different stages of this. So currently I'm working with one of my clients. Her boyfriend had ditched her. Okay, she's caught up with this story for the last 6 months. My boyfriend ditched me, my boyfriend ditched me, my boyfriend ditched me. Okay, now she's in this victim mode of consciousness, victim mode. Okay, blaming. Okay, so slowly what we are doing is we are bringing her to the acceptance mode. Once she comes in the acceptance mode, okay, then that responsibility comes. Okay, I am responsible for this difference. So that's a process on how we go about it. The entire freedom struggle that India went through. Why do we want to be free? Matlab, why did we have to go through all these so many things to become free? Of course, the question we still need to ask, why are we free? Are we really free? That is different part of the story. But yes, there was a huge story behind that we need freedom. From what? From whom? You know? Well, now that is the freedom struggle which is on the outside. But what is the freedom struggle which is on the inside? If you don't look into that. That is what we do in the processes, or in this is what we do when we work with people. Is that the ultimate state is a state of freedom. Is what people want, and that is what we kind of enable them to go to that state. It's also that it's like in the starting of the movie he was so much in fear. Okay, it's like I'm in this prison. Okay, and I'm fear. And so the first time when somebody just gave him this message that freedom, that you are free, or freedom, he's kind of skeptical, looking this. Am I really free? This. Then he started contemplating. Okay, this is this. And then slowly he realized that, oh, this, all these, when he saw that, oh, this is not, that there's something strange happening, that the world which I am thinking, this is not the world. Okay. Then he started tried different experiments and all. And in fact, one of the things was that he actually put a carpet over there, and then that was the door, or basically that was the door which is open. And it's like I'm already free, so why am I stuck in this virtual prison? And when he stepped out of it and he saw his prison, or rather when he was trying to see his prison, it just vanished. Okay, which was also shown. And in fact, this similar kind of experience I got when I did my first Vipassana. The meaning of Vipassana is loving people the way they are, accepting them the way they are, and accepting life the way it is, and loving life the way it is. And for example, you have this issue, and the moment you accept the issue the way it is, the issue drops. Okay, so this is what I've realized so many times. What was happening in Vipassana, and what was happening in Vipassana is like when everybody knows what's Vipassana. Okay, or if people do not know, it's like a 10-day spiritual course. 10 दिन का spiritual course होता है, जहाँ पे मौन रखना पड़ता है. You keep 10 days of silence. And so what happened over there is like during the meditation, the different stories of my life was coming in front of me. And when I saw the story the way it is, okay, not the way I wanted to see it, but when I saw the story the way it is, the story just dropped. Okay, so when I saw the anger within me the way it is, the anger dropped. When I saw the jealousy within me the way it is, the jealousy dropped. My journey though started with handwriting analysis, which is how from the handwriting or signature you can know the personality of a person, but basically it's the story of a person. So what we tell is the story, that this is your story. And I also realized that people are so, excited to know their own story. And also realize that people are not aware of their own story. Yes. So when I analyze people through the handwriting, what I'm talking is their story. Okay, you are this, you are that, you are this, you are that. So and so has happened in your past. Your parents are like this, your mother is like this, your father is like this. You have these different health issues. So these are their own story, and they're not aware of their own story. That is one. And that's another thing which I realized in my journey as well, is that each one of us has our own story. But how many of us embrace our own story? How many of us accept our story the way it is? Okay. And because we kind of do not accept our story the way it is, because we keep on going away from our story, or because we suppress our own story, that creates the shadow, that leads to many other issues. Okay. So also one of the things what we do in the process is, the cinema therapy process, is that we enable people to embrace their own story, to accept their own story the way it is, okay, and to love their own story the way it is. So that's another, it's a very difficult journey to go into, because we are kind of caught into the outside stories. Every day we watch the television is telling us a story, okay, right from the advertisements to the media, to the movies. So there are stories all around you, and because of the so many stories all around you, you forget your own story. Okay, it's like as a child we are all ourselves. We act according to who we are. We dance, we sing, okay, and slowly, gradually we, because of the different conditionings of the so-called stories from parents, school, you're not worth this, you're not good looking, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. So these are different stories that kind of pile up. And what happens is we start putting different masks, okay. And the entire reason for putting those masks is basically acceptance. And in the process of putting these different masks, we forget who we are. We forget our own story. And so that is something which, it's a journey which is, it's a challenging journey, you know, to go within us. But that is something which we have all come here to do that. That's the very purpose of life. Sometimes that's something what we have all come here to learn. It's a learning journey, and that learning journey is what we enable the person to go into using movies. That's what we do. It's not, there's no particular intention, but it's more of taking people on a healing journey, because there's no particular intention in that. But it's basically, it's about helping them to connect with themselves. That is what we do with groups.
And you show one film or like snippets, like this have you dikhaya?
वो अलग-अलग है. Normally we show a mainstream film and then we do processes with the group. But sometimes we break it into short films, depending on, because every group is different. It depends on the age group. It depends on if I'm doing it with a particular organization, उनका क्या vision है, what is the intention of doing the session with them. So it depends on various things. So I choose the movie according to what is the intention of this. But the actual journey and therapy and all, वो one-to-one में ज़्यादा होता है. Because that is where we actually guide them on different ways and all. The Global Healing Project is basically a connecting platform for different people whose outcome of their work is healing. So it could be healing through dance, healing through art, healing through movies, healing the environment. So these different people where the primary work, the outcome of their work is primarily healing. So that led me on the journey of initiating the Global Healing Project. So we work as an ecosystem. We work with different communities. It's like we do a combination of dance therapy, movie therapy. So it's a combination करके बहुत बार we have done projects as well in the past. So and the importance of working as an ecosystem, because in nature if you see, there's a butterfly, there's a honeybee and there's a flower. Now both are co-creating, both are coexisting with each other. The honeybee is enabling the pollination, whereas the flower is giving the food for the honeybee. So there's always a coexisting existence in nature. So how can we learn from nature and also live from that same space, you know, coexisting and living together? And it's also about inspiring communities. So that is why when we screen movies communities. So the entire thing of a movie club is watching movies as a community. Okay, like when you go to a movie theater or a cinema, you don't connect with anyone over there. Okay, say you go over there, you watch the movie and you get out of the cinema. You don't connect with anyone over there. But when you're watching the movie as a community, and then when you're having a conversation or a discussion after the movie, you connect with so many people over there. Acha, you saw this from that movie. I didn't think of that. You know, acha, even I learned this from there. And then you are grateful for that person, okay, to bringing that perception from that movie. And that's how you connect with the other person. You connect with the other person, and somebody else will connect with you. Okay, so that's the thing of a community as well. So there was this lady who wanted to start a Waldorf school in Pune. It's a brilliant school. The school doesn't have, is unlike the factory model school, doesn't have any subjects, no this. So they have this concept, everything is interconnected, everything is one, we are one. And so that's how they enter this, and there are a lot of spiritual values embedded in them. She once started this Waldorf school, so I met her, and what is Waldorf school, I understood that, and I realized that yes, it is quite important for this thing to happen. Then I helped her with different resources, right, from finding a place to the funding and to the different other things. And today the Waldorf school is in existence, and it is there are some around 40, 50 children are going to that school, and now, so the one space, but it's touching 40 lives, you know. So the resources are there, and if anybody who wants to work with their own passion, so we also help them to connect with different resources in terms of mentors and other things. So I'm also I'll be starting my work with Swaraj University as well in helping their Khojis in different ways. So acting as a mentor for them in finding different resources, mentors, and all for them. So that is one of the things also what the Global Healing Project does, enabling people to find the resources and all. So that was, as Madhu said, that it's like any person who comes with an issue, so I help them with these resources, so kind of a gift. So people started calling me as a Wikipedia, walking, talking Wikipedia. So then I said that let me use that gift to actually put in the form of a service. So that's how the Global Healing Project came into picture. So let us put these resources in one place, and if any person has a particular vision in mind, how can we put that into reality by connecting them with different resources and people and all.